Hi, my name is Rabbi Shmuel Pollan. I am a law school graduate and a student of Jewish mysticism for over 20 years. And what I'd like to do today is to share with you the real theory of everything. This is what physicists and scientists, in general, have been looking for decades. Science has been waiting for the day that someone would come along and share a theory that explains one single principle that explains everything in the universe, from inanimate matter to human consciousness, from nuclear forces to black holes, waves and particles to gravity. Well, that day has come. But the real theory of everything is actually a theory of everything. It literally explains everything. So that means that it will unite all disputes between husbands and wives, between the right and the left, and really everything, because everything is created with an opposite. It's all a duality, and the theory of everything solves for that duality. What do I mean everything is a duality? Everything has an opposite, like hungry and full, sick and healthy, rich and poor, up and down, black and white. Everything is in a duality. And when you solve for that duality with the theory of everything, we will finally be able to achieve world peace, which has evaded us for so long. Some will be disappointed to find out that the real theory of everything comes from religion. But whoever is intellectually honest will seek the truth wherever he or she finds it. The name of the real theory of everything in English is something from nothing. In Hebrew, it is called yesh me'ayin, and in Latin, it is called ex nihilo. It is the idea that the true nature of this universe is a process of something coming out of nothing. Let's go to the source of this concept. The Tanya is the source. It is a seminal work of Hasidic philosophy and a huge part of Jewish mysticism. It was written by a Hasidic master and genius named Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, who lived from 1745 to 1812. He lived in a city called Liadi in the Vitebsk region of Imperial Russia. He was noted for his deep knowledge of all the sciences in addition to his Torah scholarship, and he united the two. Many people do not realize that to be a rabbi, especially a Hasidic master, one must know a great deal of science. Maimonides, for instance, who lived from 1138 to 1204, was a physician to the Turkish Sultan. If you are to understand Maimonides' texts, a tremendous knowledge of astronomy is required. More complex detail into the cosmos is found in his book Mishnah Torah than any astronomer possesses today. Chabad Hasidic philosophy, which was started by Rabbi Shneur Zalman, is important because it is the only philosophy which claims, at least, to be the essence of all knowledge, the one thing that can explain everything. So it's actually quite natural to look to Rabbi Shneur Zalman's books and his successors' books for the solution to everything, for the theory of everything. In his work, Tanya, in the section called The Gate of Oneness and Belief, Chapter 2, he writes, he says, "This is the answer to the heretics, who deny that God is in every detail of creation and the miracles of the Bible. They err in their false analogy in comparing the work of God, the creator of heaven and earth, to the work of man and his schemes. When a silversmith completes a vessel, that vessel is no longer dependent on the smith. And when his hands are removed from it and he goes on his way, the vessel remains exactly as it was when it left the hands of the smith. In the same way do these fools convince themselves of the nature of the creation of heaven and earth. Their eyes are covered, so they do not see. The great difference between the work of a man who is making an existing thing out of an already existing thing, merely changing its form and appearance from an ingot of silver to a vessel, versus the making of the heaven and the earth, which is created ex nihilo. There's the theory of everything. Ex nihilo, something from nothing. Creating something from nothing is even more wondrous than the splitting of the sea. So you can think about that another time, but we're just using that to show where the theory of everything came from. came from Shneur Zalman of Liadi, who based himself on the Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, which comes from the Torah, which supposedly comes from God. And if God created the universe, he would be the one who would be able to tell us exactly what unites the universe. But is this idea of something from nothing scientifically true? Yes, it is. Because when we just examine reality honestly, we will see that it starts out as nothing. Absolute nothingness and emptiness. So I see a table, but no. When we zoom in further, we realize that it is molecules. Zoom in further, we realize that it is atoms. Zoom in further, we realize that it's quarks. Zoom in further, we realize it is preons. And the key to the theory of everything is to understand that at a certain point you ask the question, what is here? What do I have? And the answer is, when you go deep enough, you have nothing. Just existence. Which means that reality itself is nothing. It is empty space. Any theory that talks about something like string theory is not the true nature of the universe, because the true nature of the universe is nothing. Not a string, not a wave, not a particle, absolute nothingness. This is the first concept that you need to understand. The Buddhists were right here. The universe is nothing but empty space. The next concept you must understand is that nothing really isn't nothing. And by that I mean that nothing is infinite potential. Anything can happen in nothing. Just like a canvas, an empty canvas allows for anything to be painted on it. It's specifically because the canvas is nothing that the painting can be painted. And in general, when you lose yourself, as they call it, that is when you really become the most incredible person that you could become. Jesus lost his life. He became nothing. And in place of him becoming nothing, became the largest religion in the world. It's because of the nothingness that the greatness comes out. In the Holocaust, many millions of people became dust and ashes. They became nothing. And out of that came the nation of Israel, a homeland for the Jewish people which they never had before. And we're still waiting for more good things to come out of the Holocaust, because having Israel does not justify the horrors of the Holocaust. And then this brings us to the contradiction. Because while the universe is nothing, we see so much here. We see almost an infinite amount of something, trillions of galaxies. In fact, unless strands of DNA that reach the sun, how can we say that all of that is nothing? Mineral life, plant life, animal life, human life, it all seems so real. And it is. Or is it? You must understand that when something comes out of nothing, does it really lose its nothingness? Does it really lose its infinite potential? It came out of nothing, therefore it is still nothing, even when it appears to be real. What does this mean? It means that reality is not as we know it. It is actually filled with infinite potential, and it is not a concrete existence as we thought. You can call it a simulation or a movie, or better yet, a cartoon where none of the principles of physics apply. That's a more accurate description of this universe. This explains the miracles of the Bible, because the miracle workers saw the world as a cartoon, not as a fixed reality. They understood that nothingness underpins everything. As I said, this answers not only questions in science, it answers questions in everything. A good doctor will realize that what he's doing is nothing. He's not doing any particular thing, and therefore he's able to use his skills using Eastern medicine and Western medicine as the situation requires it. There is no contradiction between Eastern medicine and Western medicine. They're all of one essence, which is the idea of ways to heal people, increase the longevity of their life and the quality of their life. Go deeper into that and you'll find even more oneness. Republicans and Democrats are fighting currently about something that at its source is actually the same. Both are trying to impose certain values which may or not be to the country's benefit. But both views are equally nothing when we get down to the issue. When you find out what you really want, you realize there are no distinctions in what you really want. It is unity, it is oneness. Both views are equally nothing when we get down to the issues, and this solves emotional problems and stress as well. Stress is a result of distinctions. This is good, this is bad. This is how I want things to be, this is how I don't want things to be. If it's just a cartoon, you have the option to feel however you want. And we all have that option, whether we realize it or not. It's all your simulation. It's all a movie you are creating from nothing, which retains its nothingness, and therefore is completely flexible to your will. So basically the world is nothing, and that allows something great to come out of it. And when it comes out of it, the world is far more flexible and fluid than we think. And that's why all the miracles of the Bible were able to happen. It happened for people who saw the fluidity in reality. What I'm doing now is like teaching the whole Hasidic philosophy and Jewish mysticism on one foot. Something which took me 20 years. We can explain more in future videos, and God willing, we will. I just want to get out the main point, that there is a theory of everything, and it comes from Jewish mysticism. And anyone and everything is able to transcend any problem they may face as a result of this theory of everything. Since this is such a religious solution, I'm not expecting a Nobel Prize, but I am expecting that people will think about what I've said and come closer to unity as a result, come closer to God. Because the reason this is all so unified is because God is unified. The Creator is one. May the Creator and His Messiah reveal the truth today that this world is actually a paradise as it was always meant to be before the sin. God bless. Now I want to read to you a conversation that I had with a scientist after making a video like this. He said, "I think I understand your points and believe that I have come to a similar conclusion. I suppose you have observed that when you study something more and more closely, it always dissolves into something that is logically inconsistent or paradoxical. Math dissolves into Gödel's incompleteness theorems. Artificial intelligence dissolves into Turing's halting problem. Painting devolves into dots, etc. Roger Penrose, who I think is the greatest living physicist, describes point particles like prions as nothing spinning." And here's my reply. I don't think you understand the point, and I don't expect anyone to get it the first time. This has never been brought out before by any scientist, and this is the real theory of everything. You are a very smart individual, so I know you can get this. The point is that the universe is nothing, and for that reason it can be everything and anything. And it is very nothingness that leaves you with the pure potential required to do anything. See, we always think of nothingness as a lack, but it's not a lack, it's infinite potential, like a canvas before the painting has been painted. Nothing leaves you with the potential to do anything, just like if you have no attachment to any particular kindness, you can do any kindness. Let's say if you only do the kindness of giving out shoes, you can't do everything. You're something. Therefore, you cannot do everything. It is specifically when you are totally nothing that you can do anything. Anything short of complete nothingness will not do this job, and is not the theory of everything. And this applies to everything. Like, our goal as humans, whether we realize it or not, is to become the nothing that can be anything. That's why life is always beating us down. To have pure love, which is what we want, there must be a process of getting past all the particular kinds of love until you have nothing, at which point you can have true love in any expression that you want. But it's like a movie at that point. It's like a simulation. It's like a cartoon. Life, if you haven't noticed it, is breaking us down until we become nothing, because that is how we will be able to be free to do anything. This explains not only physics and the principles behind the universe, it also explains all philosophical questions like why do bad things happen to good people, and it also explains Elon Musk and Twitter. A well-known thing from Hasidic Jews for 300 years, Hasidic Jews were known to repeat as a mantra, "I am nothing, I am nothing, I am nothing." Comically, a janitor once joined them and they said, "Who are you to think you're calling yourself nothing?" There's also the adage from the Tzemach Tzedek, a 17th century Hasidic master, who says, "Don't be the intellect, don't be the pedant, be the one who peels the potatoes for the Hasidic gathering." Why? Because the guy who peels the potatoes for the Hasidic gathering will learn when he needs to learn, and he'll be a pedant when he needs to be a pedant, and when they need potatoes for bringing, he'll peel the potatoes. He's not locked into anything. He's free. He's nothing. And therefore, he can be anything. And the point of the story is that when you're a nothing, you can do anything, just like I said. To review, to understand the theory of everything, you must understand that true reality is nothing. but that nothing is not an absence of things, it's an infinite potential to create things. And when those things are created, they retain their potential, which means our existence is not fluid, it is fixed. It is not fixed, it is fluid. It can be anything. It can be manipulated in ways that we never thought possible. It is like a simulation or a movie. This doesn't just unite all of physics, it unites and solves all problems, including political problems, religious problems, psychological problems, philosophical problems, medical problems, engineering problems, and more. With time, we'll solve more and more of these problems using the theory of everything. It will take time, but I believe that together we will solve every problem in the world. The world is created as a duality: hungry, full, sick, healthy, black, white, yin, yang, brave and afraid. The solution to everything shows that those distinctions are really nothing, and therefore they don't contradict. However, we come back to use the duality, but retaining our infinite potential, so we go through life realizing it's like a movie and we can feel and do anything we want to do. At the same time, realizing that the ultimate freedom is doing the right thing, because that's the hardest thing to do. He says, yes, you were right. I didn't understand your thinking on the nature of reality. I don't know if reality is a good name for it, but it's the best I can come up with at this point, because as you point out, it's a very deep and difficult philosophical, theological set of ideas. I was just looking at it from the standpoint of the physical structure of the universe in terms of basic constructs such as point particles and vacuum energy, but I see more clearly that now you're offering a much more developed view of the nature of consciousness and context in the sense of the reality matrix God put us into to operate within. Too bad we are so far apart. I'd love to discuss this with you in depth over some good wine. Unfortunately, this again is another subject that does not communicate well in emails. If I'm understanding you correctly, your ideas in some way are similar to the ideas underlying Taoism and Buddhism. When I was much younger, I was fascinated with these concepts and spent time exploring them. My meditation mantra was, I know nothing. I think you've moved well beyond that. I would like to know how you operationalize this philosophy on a day-to-day basis. So then I answered him about how we operationalize the concept on a day-to-day basis. I said, anytime there is an argument that is a perceived distinction, something like giving out only shoes, being trapped, also known as Egypt, but if you delve deeper, you realize there is really no distinction. There is nothingness, which is oneness, and you're saying the same thing in different words. This brings about love of a fellow man, which is the goal. This creates harmony between husbands and wives. This applies to every argument, including ones we've had, and Republicans and Democrats, free speech versus safety. So I think the biggest application is how it unites everyone and thereby bringing about world peace. Applies to your arguments within Christianity. Applies also to arguments between Western medicine and Eastern medicine. A good doctor sees no difference and uses each one as needed. Being the theory of everything, it applies to everything. We just need to apply it. And I'm hoping that people will help me do that. I shouldn't have to carry the burden all by myself. I believe Buddhism talks about how everything in the world is a duality. There's God and Satan, black and white, yin and yang, hungry and full. So really fixing up those dualities with a good understanding of oneness solves everything in the world. It also gets rid of stress and replaces it with joy, because joy comes from unity, stress comes from distinctions. We have to remember, you can still be stressed once you have the unity, but you'll be choosing to be stressed instead of it controlling you. If you examine your emotions, you will find that you are not stuck in any of them. When they are all the same to you, you can play them like a keyboard and you really feel happy. That's what I'm feeling right now, because I think that you are getting this. I hope you all get this. I hope you will leave your comments below, questions and answers. I hope discussion will take place. God bless.